But I'm honored to be here. I love working in water and had a break for a while, and it's nice to be back helping in this front in such an important time in our state. So just getting into what I do, I think it's important to understand a little bit about land-grant universities and extension and how that works. And I apologize, some of you may be very familiar and some of you might not have any idea, but hopefully you'll learn something that will be helpful. This context matters because it's to help you understand what I currently do and what we're moving towards. Where do I point this? Thank you. Okay, so first of all, this idea that democracy has to be born anew every generation, and that happens through education. That's at the core of our democracy. And after the Civil War, it was realized that only the elite wealthy were going to have college educations, and that the everyman needed technical and home-based practical skills, as well as the chance to do more. So at that point, President Lincoln signed the bill to develop the land-grant universities. And we have a mandate to educate all. And we reach out formally and informally. We have a lot of really low-key ways to learn, but they're all fact-based and evidence-based. We take the information from the university, and the land-grant has the mandate not only to make college affordable for more, is what it did at the time, but also to diversify the way that we deliver education to fuel the economy. Obviously, education, research, innovation are imperative in communities to help economic growth. To address societal problems, we identify those and then work to help people find actionable solutions. And we share knowledge, especially at the time of inception, with rural and underserved populations. And what that looks like has kind of changed. But still, we are always working with rural and underserved in mind. And so we offer low-cost classes that people can participate in, and we seek to make sure our programs are getting to the right communities. So extension, or land-grant, every state and territory, I believe, has a land-grant university. But more than that, so after land-grants were created, about how many years later? 50 years later, land-grant schools started partnering with cooperative extension. Now, this started just as a journal where farmers would share their best practices and their ideas and what was working well for them. And along the way, land-grant schools recognized that they needed a better delivery system for the everyman. So we get to focus on individuals, families, and communities in aspects of health, and that includes environment, natural resources, agriculture are big, what we're best known for, but we also look at like helping small business development and financial management for families and individuals. So when you look at that land-grant map, there was one in each state. But extension, we have an office in almost every single county. I think there are about 142 counties in the US territories and states that are not covered. If you look at where I started my journey with extension, it was in Hawaii. I was raised between Hawaii and here mostly, with other states thrown in. But I had the fortune, and I apologize, the resolution's low, but so I first started working in watershed issues right here in the Waimanalo watershed. And this is a note for another day, but it's so interesting to look at watershed dynamics between Hawaii and here, because, you know, on Oahu, I wrote it down because I always forget, just Oahu alone, we had 86 watershed units. And so people think a lot differently. I was astonished when I moved back here. Just, you know, I'd been immersed in watershed talk for so long, and the population really, they know what that is, and they have endemics, or they have native systems that they use to talk about it, and so it's just part of the culture. And then returning here, I was like, oh yeah, at the time even, we weren't really talking much about watersheds as a public. And I must say we've done amazing work in Utah, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I'm grateful for the foundation that's been laid for water management in Utah. But it's just interesting that there's still kind of a disconnect with the public. And that's one of the things I get to help. So my point in putting this up is I just want to really drive home what Extension can do. We're everywhere with the people. We are the people. And so we don't have to be we take the research and we make sure that we're validated in what we bring to the public. But I don't have to do the hard science. I get to take that and convey it in a way to the people who matter, who need that information the most in the way that they need it. So pretty cool that we can cover so much. The map of Oahu, or not of Oahu, but of Hawaii is just showing how many extension places there are. And it's crazy that a lot of my life was here and then I went back to Hawaii. And that's where I found out about Extension. I didn't find out about it here. It's just so much a part of the culture, and people know where to go for answers. So here in Utah, this is all of our sites. And those are the areas that we focus on. I specifically am water quality. So I just wanted to share how this works. So we have a campus specialist who is being hired currently. Both of these roles, these are two different roles, top and bottom, and both turned over recently. So they're in the process of hiring Erin Rivers' replacement, and that person will be the Water Quality Extension campus specialist. They're usually a PhD position. They'll do a lot more of the hard research, have a teaching role, but then also coordinate with throughout the state and with other professors on figuring out what information needs to be distributed from them. I get to be this fun role. I get to be the professional practice. That means that I'm grant funded mostly, and I get to work on the action steps and the community education and outreach, which I think is why I was asked to talk. And also because I am now located, the position was moved to Logan for a little while, but now I get to work here in the Weber Basin. And they moved the position back down to Wetland Discovery Point. Makes a lot of sense. So I'm housed at USU Botanical Center. I have my own little building. You're welcome to call me anytime. Don't just drop in because it's not open. I'm gone all the time. But I would love to meet. You're my people. I get to help you and help make the connections and do the outreach and education that's important to you. So please feel free to reach out anytime. I'll have my information at the end. But and my bachelor's was here at Westminster, and I was of the era of some really great scientists. It was right as Bonnie Baxter was coming in. I didn't really even work with her, but I did a lot of revegetation of stream banks with Ty Harrison and other work in the wetlands, because that's where my passion and my family focus is too. So really fun to have to see this status here, and then to go back to Hawaii and be able to see how some of the practices there are just coming online here in some ways, because they've always had more pressure on water, and now we're feeling it a lot more strongly. So I do want to give a shout out to the amazing work that's been done in our state. As you live and travel in other places, it's not always the case. You may technically be able to drink the water, but you may not want to. And I think we've done an amazing job. And most of these pictures are mine. So I love hiking. And just to be in natural spaces and have so much beautiful, clear water flowing. I personally, I know generations that have come before us have worked so hard to allocate our limited resources here and to manage and steward it well. So I think we've done a wonderful job. Now, when you look at our TMDL, this is all the sites in Utah when they reevaluated 3 years ago now for the 50th anniversary of the Clean Water Act. These are all the sites that were flagged as exceeding our total maximum daily limits for different indicators of water quality. So we do have some problems. Now, that being said, and this is how it came out, half of Utah's waters are impaired. It's the third highest state for rivers and streams at risk to fish, and seventh with rivers and streams too polluted for swimming and recreation. But we have to bear in mind, this is comparing us to very many small states. Also, we report all of our waterways. A lot of states will just report those that continually flow through the year. We report them all. We have topography that's just a huge challenge for water quality, because not only is it steeply sloped, and on an average year we might have 100 landslides, but that really heavy water year, 250 that year, well, that's going to do a lot to water quality for a while. Fires, we have to manage those, and those will have impact as well. So we have a lot of natural considerations. And also when you look at the topography, a lot of other states with mountains might have more water, so then they have more vegetation helping to hold the soil. We don't have that. So we have, and it's not an excuse, it's just an explanation, that we do have some work to do, but it may not be as bleak as when we first look at that. And yeah, we're one of the most arid states, so there's my kids. So when it comes to water quality, there are a lot of extension specialists that focus on water conservation in our state, and they're doing awesome work in conjunction with all of you. My mandate, I'm the only one who's really focused on water quality, so I kind of have to stay in my lane there because there's so much work to do just in water quality. But obviously less water is higher concentration of pollution, and so there is a dovetail there. So I always will couch what I say an encouragement of conservation and being conservation minded, but I really need to focus on helping the public understand water quality and their actions related to that. So demand, so projected by the Department of Transportation, what worked in the past and our awesome stewardship in the past won't carry us forward into that kind of growth. And so I talk a lot about legacy mismatches. We often hear, well, we've always done it this way. My grandpa did it this way, or whatever. And actually, my grandpa was a really great water manager. But we might hear, well, this is how it's always been. And we often hear, too, it's the outsiders coming in. But the reality is we are growing, wherever the source. And even if we've been here for generations, we can't keep doing what we've done always, because we'll just not be where we need to be. And with that increased population, it also drives other factors like stormwater management and wastewater management. We need to educate the public better. Now, out with my kids this summer, and I think they had never thought about where their water was coming from until this well run dry, or the one adjacent to it. The well where we were staying had run dry, so all the kids had to walk over because they were pumping mud, so they had to walk this far. And I think it was the first time these 200-something kids had paused to think about where their water came from. It was probably the first time. I grew up with a grandpa who was a glover, so in horticulture, and he just drilled into us about water and the importance and what a precious resource it is. And I do believe that's how our generations were. But now we have this generation either coming up or coming from outside who we just need to educate them and help them understand. And sometimes they understand better than we do, depending on where they come from. But we have a perceived abundance because we've been doing so well. And there's this loss of generational wisdom. So here's where I get to come in. I'm going to skip some of this. So this is one of my projects that takes place here at the Nature Conservancy's Shoreland Preserve. And it's a partnership with the Nature Conservancy and USU and the Botanical Center. We take kids, 4th graders, out to the wetlands. We pay for their busing, mostly. It doesn't cover all of it with increased costs, but we pay a lot towards their busing. That incentivizes the schools to come out. And then we do this nice long walk around the wetland boardwalk. And we're able to talk about when they first get out there, it looks like grass. To the untrained eye, it just looks like it's a bunch of grass. But by the time we're done, they've learned several different species. They've learned about the diversity and the functions in the plants that help them to survive there. They learn about the animals and the functions of the structures in the plants and animals that have evolved to suit them well to the wetlands. What I love even more as a water quality person is we start our tour in this place with what they call guacamole algae, because it looks like guacamole. And by the time we've gone maybe just to the doors there, the water is running clear. And there's a diversity in the plants in the water. And it's really cool for them to see this difference in what the wetland can do in such a short space. We also were able to look at flood management and understand the value of the wetlands for not only our migrating birds, which is huge, but also when we stand partway up that tower, we're able to say, hey, this is where the flood levels reached, and back before it was managed as well as it is now. And this is one of the values of the wetlands, is it's a great not only filter but moderator of those flood levels. So kind of fun to be able to take them out and have fun, but some of the comments we get, this is just from our teachers and what they shared. Some of the things they loved. I'll go with the bottom one. Such a great experience for our students and teachers. Teachers can learn along with the students and use it as background information as we teach about the state of Utah and science. Being outside and seeing and touching was an experience they won't forget. It's a really special opportunity to be able to take them out. The other thing that we get to do is we have volunteer guides who do this. And so most of them currently are retirees or approaching retirement, and it's something they can do to share their love of the wetlands with the next generation. So if you're interested in that opportunity, anybody who finds yourself with some unexpected time, we would love to have you. We're very flexible, and it's a great way to be involved. So the other 70% of what I do is around non-point source pollution prevention initiatives with mostly with Paul Burnett. And we get to work with the Department of Water Quality non-point source pollution prevention mandates. So I work to look at programming that's going to help people understand their place in the watershed and how to be great stewards, and also other avenues of water quality education. So this is a program that's statewide. And you'll see the little map here. It shows where we had active testing sites this year. This year, things dropped a little bit with the transition in my role. So we didn't have quite as many monitoring events as usual, but it was still 399. And lost my data here. We had a lot of monitoring going on. We also, not only did our volunteers go out, but they brought in other people. And the goal of this is that we're empowering people to be better ambassadors of water quality in their communities. And so our volunteers will often take other people out. So they got another 548 people out. And when we calculate, they gave about 933 hours to their watersheds just for monitoring. And I'll talk about how in just a minute. But that's about the equivalent of $31,000, a little over $31,000 that they contributed. And we act as the boots on the ground for a lot of for the Division of Water Quality, including the harmful algal bloom crew. So when our folks are out, they know what to look for, and you have a lot more boots on the ground in the moment in the communities to be able to say, hey, this looks a little fishy, can you come and scope this out for us? And so we help to improve the response time of all of the responses to things that look like they need to be addressed in our waterways. Really proud of this is not my program, but I'm really proud to be able to lead it now. And really grateful for all the work that was laid before. This does not happen everywhere. So it's pretty awesome that we have this. And really grateful for the Division of Water Quality and their partnership. Just wanted to see, so we're everywhere throughout the state, but in a minute I'll show you we are wanting to expand our reach a little more fully. Another initiative that we get to do because of the help of the Division of Water Quality is streamside science. So we're revamping our curriculum, but years ago, USU put out some really great curriculum to help teachers teach water information to their students and to make it fun and hands-on and more engaging and more impactful, hopefully. That's been revamped, so this year we get to release the new edition, 2.0. And not only do we teach teachers, I got to go out with, like my second week on the job, I got to go out and and train teachers. And this is an example of what we do. Our monitors, our volunteer monitors, when they go out with Utah Water Watch, they're looking at things like dissolved oxygen levels and pH and temperature. And we keep for the Utah Water Watch, we keep a citizen science database, and it's the second biggest on CITSI. So kind of cool what they've created. So our teachers are also interested in understanding those things. And I think it's incredible that these fifth grade teachers are then going into their classrooms and showing their students, look, this is how you monitor water quality. Because it makes it real. And it makes them, first of all, even realize that, oh, water quality is a thing, and we watch it. And so this is from Salt Lake City School District with the teacher group there. And their students now notice things. There are a lot of Title I students, and so their students now notice things and can come back and ask their teachers to help them report it. So I have taken too long. We also have Pack It Out Utah. It's a statewide, so the intent is a statewide watershed cleanup in September. And I'll be sending out information out about that and kind of what our plan is. We partner with these other groups. This is not just USU people, volunteers. This is Friends of the Great Salt Lake, who are amazing, and everybody. But we can aggregate those numbers and say, hey, in this time frame in September, this is what was done by citizens in Utah to help improve our watersheds. And then the Department of Water Resources takes that to the EPA and is able to bring more funding back to Utah because they can demonstrate that citizens care and are involved. So we are expanding with our programs because we have these resources of extension offices in other counties. I'm able now to go to those county directors and say, hey, will you help us recruit more volunteers? So we're hoping to have more numbers of volunteers in these areas and other areas throughout the state. We also have, this is an initiative you may know about. So Gotta Go is under our initiatives. It's a separate website from USU. In the past, that website was lost between my hire and the person I replaced, which is Hope. She's awesome. But we lost that website, and we're rebuilding it on the USU Extension website. So you will see that soon. It has resources for recreation, how to responsibly handle waste outdoors. Pet waste is one category, but there are a lot of others, and including RV dump sites. We want people to know where they can find an RV dump site. This is Small Farm Neighbor is to help people with small farms manage responsibly and have an understanding. A lot of people who are doing small farming are hobbyists, and they weren't maybe trained in proper use of things. This is an initiative that we're more directing people towards the right resources to get help and funding. So that's all. And I probably don't even have time for questions because I was looking at the wrong clock.
We can take a quick question while Simon comes up to the podium. If there's any burning questions for Sarah. But yeah, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you.